What's going on, everyone? This is Mitch. Hope you're enjoying your afternoon. Chances are most watched the video this morning about the snow update for the Mid-Atlantic and portions of the South. It is snowing and sleeting in portions of the South right now. I needed to add this video in because even though we don't want to talk about severe weather because we're over it, I know I am. I'm over talking about it, and I'm over the destructive nature of it and it disrupting lives and ultimately ending lives in some cases. It is going to be the case ongoing right now. There's a tornado watch already out. I'll tell you for including who, if you don't already know, if you're under a tornado watch. And then overnight, where the threat can actually increase into Georgia and the Carolinas, where a tornado threat is very real. So that's what we're going to break down in this video. Stay tuned a little bit later here in about, I don't know, 3 or 4 more hours. We're probably going to give you another update on the snow event that's cranking up right now. This is turning into a major snowstorm. This system is incredibly dynamic, and the thing is it's its own separate thing than the one that just happened yesterday. And it is a strengthening system, and it's going to really do some dynamic stuff. Dynamic meaning severe weather here, and then snow not too far away. So that's what we're going to break down for you guys. If you guys have not subscribed, hit the subscribe button, like the video if you like it. Your support is definitely vital and appreciated. It takes time to make these videos, guys, and I love doing it, but sometimes I have to step away from my family, and yeah, it just takes a lot of time. So your support, you hitting that subscribe button, liking the video, means a whole lot to me. It means the world to me, and it helps my growth. It really does, and I really appreciate it. So thank you all for the amazing support. So right now, a slight risk. This is stretching from the Panhandle of Florida, the Big Bend of Florida, all the way through the entire central and southern areas of Georgia, into, I would say, about 80% of South Carolina, and then the portions of southeastern North Carolina. There is a 5% chance of a tornado in that slight risk. I will say this, by the time some of you guys watch this, portions of the slight risk may get upgraded to an enhanced risk. That is how real this tornado threat is. And we'll talk about what's going on in here in a second, but if you're in this yellow area, especially in Georgia into the Carolinas, especially South Carolina, the threat becomes real overnight. Once everyone's went to sleep, this could be the chance for the possibility for nocturnal tornadoes, and they're going to be quick. They're going to come out of nowhere, and I'm going to try to give you a timeline on when you can see them. But this is a dangerous thing that's kind of under the radar. It's getting overshadowed or undershadowed by the snow threat. We really need to discuss this. So big time wind threat with this too. Regardless if you get a tornado, you're going to see a wind threat. So right now, tornado watch till 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Till 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time for this area. You already have rotating storms developing. There's already been a tornado warned storm down here. This is the radar right now. All these storms have a chance to have weak rotation and the potential tornado to them. Not necessarily a dangerous situation right now, but it could become one here in the coming hours, especially overnight, as the storm really begins to crank up and the low pressure rides into the upstate of South Carolina to North Carolina, and the potential for maybe some kind of steam jet will enhance and really bring some strong winds into the Carolinas and Georgia. But here we go. This is what's going on right now. We'll try to get the latest updated one. That's good. It goes out to 24 hours. So this is a more broad look. Of course, your eye is immediately going to the snow. Don't focus on the snow right now, guys. I'll give you an updated video on that here in a bit. If you're in the Carolinas and Georgia, you need to pay attention to this. As the low pressure is cranking up, an area of heavy rain will begin to fill in as we're getting into the afternoon and evening hours across South Carolina and North Carolina. This will be heavy rain. It'll remain muggy. This will move through. There'll be a tornado threat with this line too, moving through areas of southeast Georgia as you're getting into around the 10 to 11 p.m. time frame. But this is what you watch here that's beginning to develop right here. These storms, as you have a moist sector that rises and spikes ahead of this storm, moist air rises here. There's a little bit of a spike in CAPE in response to that, them higher dew points rising in this moist sector. And all these storms right here that begin to develop really in Georgia and then into the Carolinas as we're moving into the 2 a.m., 3 a.m. time frame. These are the storms that could be dangerous into South Carolina and Georgia. And even as we're waking up here in North Carolina, they can be dangerous. All these storms are going to happen overnight, and there's going to be some embedded tornadoes with this. I really think there is. We're going to have tornado warnings. Your phone's going to go off in the middle of the night, and this is going to range anywhere from midnight to 5, 6 o'clock in the morning. And the tornado threat is a real big deal here. We got to watch out. We really do. And let's get a little bit closer look at this. So what's going on here is let's get this updated information. This is moist air in the oranges and yellows. This is that Arctic front moving in. It's moving through the south right now from west to east, and it's dropping down. But ahead of it, as low pressure develops right into here, of what we call a moist sector or a warm sector, really surges northward and moves over Georgia and then the Carolinas. This will temporarily spike dew points into the mid-60s into Georgia, into the Carolinas for a couple-hour period along this line of storms. That will provide a ton of surface moisture for these storms to deal with. You look at this, this is Cape. Now, it's not going to look very impressive on here, but along that boundary where there's intense moisture, there's going to be an area of high-end Cape with it where you got Cape reaching 700 to 750 joules per kilogram surface Cape, which to mix this with a ton of wind energy here and dew points that are high enough to support severe storms. This is going to be a area of severe weather that I'm telling you is going to go under the radar. It's not going to be talked about much, but it could catch some people by surprise. It really could. We look at the significant tornado parameter overnight here. Watch it begin to spike with this line that develops right into here, moves into the Carolinas as we get into 3 to 4 a.m. time frame. And tornado, really the tornado threat is the highest, probably Columbia Point south in the whole entire southern area of South Carolina. And then it spikes again big time in southeastern North Carolina, where you have to watch out for a tornado threat right into that area. But this is going to be going on in Georgia and the Carolinas overnight when people are sleeping. And it's a big deal. As far as looking at the radar, closer look here as we're moving here, we're getting into the evening hours, getting into around the midnight time frame here. Here comes these storms developing. This is when the tornado threat begins to get high, moves into the Carolinas. One thing I want to talk about here is this wind threat. Let's look right here. This isn't the winds. What am I looking for right here? The wind gust. This is potential wind gust with this. Look at this as I move through. Wind gust begins surging. This is the low pressure. Tight wind gradients right here. This is 40 to 50 mile per hour wind gust. Even behind the storms, winds will be screaming as a low-level jet just off the surface. Winds mixed to the surface in this case. And even though you have a 60 to 70 knot low-level jet over these areas, even though it's not the surface, winds are going to mix to the surface with these tight wind gradients. So you have, 30 to 40 mile per hour winds gusting here. This moves into the Midlands of South Carolina and then really moves into the areas of all the Carolinas. But looking at the Carolinas in general, for my folks here in the Carolinas, including me, we get into the midnight time frame, 1 a.m., 2 a.m. These are when the scary storms begin to develop here just south of this low pressure. All these will have a chance to have a tornado threat with them. And this will stretch from about midnight to about the 5 a.m. time frame. And then it moves into southeastern North Carolina as you get into the morning hours. So this is dangerous. And here's that wind threat here. You're going to wake up to stuff thrown all over your yard across Georgia and the Carolinas. I'm telling you tomorrow. Even in the cold part of the storm, there's a chance for isolated blizzard conditions in the mountains as snow begins to crank up. But look at these wind gusts across. This is an area of high-end winds moving over the Midlands of 50 to 60 miles per hour. Potential wind gusts screaming over the Midlands of South Carolina as we're getting into, this is when everybody's starting to wake up. Here comes the storms moving through right here. But even behind this system, wind gusts as you're waking up and going on your drive to work, wind gusts will be screaming. It'll be so windy, guys. And this is really the reason why, is you got a low-level jet in place that cranks up over Georgia as in response to this deepening low pressure. This moist sector is right in here. And you have ton of directional, not a ton, but you have shear in place, plenty of shear, directional shear. That's the question. But how big is the tornado threat right where you have all this wind energy right here aloft in the 850s, about a few thousand feet up in the air? This is a big-time low-level jet that flies over the region, and there's going to be a tornado threat. There's going to be a tornado threat overnight. So it's not being talked about much, but I'm here to tell you, if you live in Georgia, anywhere between now and around midnight, there's going to be a tornado threat. South Carolina, anywhere between 11 p.m. to 12 a.m. all the way through about 5 a.m. There's going to be a tornado threat. Really, especially in the northern Midlands points south, and then closer to sunrise for southeastern North Carolina. But be careful out there. Definite tornado threat. Let's see if this is updated in the next video. It has not, so still a slight risk. Watch for updates. Y'all stay safe out there, and I'll give you guys a snow update a little bit later. You're going to be seeing my face a whole lot lately, and there's so much to talk about, guys. There really is. So thank y'all for sticking with me, and I'll see you here in a few hours.